Hi, my name is Chris Love, and I'm here to talk to you today about developing with Kubernetes. And one of the problems that we have with developing with Kubernetes applications is really how big Kubernetes is. And what I mean by that is we either have to create a cluster in the cloud to develop with, or we're running some sort of complex application or Kubernetes stack locally. Typically, what I found is most companies have development clusters where their engineers are developing on. And to me, that doesn't make a really effective development experience for developers where you have to go into the cloud or some other place to test your applications. When I'm developing, maybe I'm just old school, but I still like running the applications locally. Running Kubernetes locally, to be honest, is quite complex. It's a very large application, and there's lots of complexities to starting and running Kubernetes. So today I'm here to talk to you about a tool called Kind. It's K-I-N-D. It is maintained by the folks over at Kubernetes that develop Kubernetes. It's actually Google test team and a bunch of other great folks over there. What it does is it's a Go tool. So it's a Go binary you install locally on your development machine. And you run it, and it creates a full cluster of Kubernetes for you. What it does is it pulls down an image that contains all of Kubernetes control plane, and it spins that image up for you. Has a full API behind it and can do lots of different things. Let's within the project that I have, or I've created a GitHub project for this demo. I've actually created a short link for it. It's bit.ly, so bit.ly/kind, K-I-N-D, -talk, T-A-L-K. So if you want to go to that project and follow along, great. Otherwise, we're going to dive into the makefile here. And we're going to do a couple things. First off, we're going to create a local registry for your images, and we're also going to create a Kind cluster. Now, we've got the make commands here. So we've got Kind installed locally. We've also got kubectl installed locally, and we've got a container image running. So if we just do make create Kind, it's going to create a registry for us, and then it's going to spin up the Kind test node image. It's going to take a few seconds because it's going to start up the control plane and everything for us. So while that's going on, let's go over and take just a quick peek at one of the scripts that we just ran. So inside the Kind folder that we have, we've got a start local registry. All that does is it starts and double checks to see if the image is running. And then if it is, it starts, oh, that's the stop local registry script. Let me get to the start registry script. There we go. See if I can, it's because I called it set up local registry. So it's going to start an image called kind-registry if it doesn't exist, and it's going to use the reg2 image to start it up. It's also going to create a Docker network connection so that Kind can connect into this registry. So that's spun up. If you look at a Docker PS, we've got the registry image running right now, and we also have Kind node image running right now. So if we go back to our other window, it's all set up for us. It ensured that we have the right image locally on our machine. It prepared the nodes, created a configuration file, installed networking for us, installed storage class so we can do stuff like PVCs, and then even set up our kubectl information for us, our kubeconfig. So if we do kubeconfig -n kubesystem get PO, it's going to show all the pods that are running. We've got Coordinates up and running, etcd, KindNet, which is our CNI provider, which is how pods get IP addresses with and are able to communicate. API server, controller manager, proxy, and also the schedulers all up and running for us. So as I mentioned, it has a full API behind it. So what we just run is a kind create command and use this piece of YAML or this YAML file as our configuration file. You can just do a kind create without the configuration file and it spins it up. For this demo, we're doing a couple different things. First off, we're mapping some ports because later on we're going to create node ports. So we're mapping a container port to a host port, setting up the protocol for that. Also, what we're doing is we're setting up a containerd configuration so that containerd, which is a container engine that's running within the registry. So we have locally here, I have Docker image, but we're running Docker in Docker is what it's called, but this time it's Docker with containerd running. So we're actually going to run an image within an image. The configuration lines on line 14 here allows us to talk to a local registry, which of course I showed you that we spun up. So within this project, we also have just a Dockerfile and a server.go file, or a main.go file within a basic HTTP server. This is a two-stage Dockerfile we're going to use to run a Go build, and we're also going to package it up and run the binary. So we've got commands, and let's go back into the make file real quick and walk through this. So you notice on line 21, I've got a Docker push. That's going to run a Docker build on that Docker file we just looked at, and it's going to create, you notice that there's a variable in there called registry host. It's all the way at the top. I'm not going to scroll back up, but it's localhost :5000 where our local registry is running. We're going to do a Docker build, and then we're going to do a Docker push, which is going to push it up to that local registry, which is running locally. So we do a make Docker push. So that's going to run our build for us. It's using a local container. It's a two-stage Docker build. So it runs Docker to build the file. Then we have the Go file locally from the build, and then it'll create the actual image that we're using, and the image is localhost :5000/API. We then run the Docker push command, and that pushes it up to the registry for us. So now let's recap here. We've got a client Kubernetes cluster up and running. We have a Go application up and running. So if you take a look under server, there's a main.go. And it's just a real simple application that's a simple hello world. We're listening and serving on port 8080, and then we're just going to output some JSON. So in order to get a deployment up and running, of course, we need our deployment YAML. Very simple deployment YAML that you'll be, if you've worked with Kubernetes before, you're very familiar with it. The line that's important is line 20. So you'll notice that is pointing to localhost 5000 API :latest. So that's the image that's running, that is hosted by our local registry. That's going to get pulled in by kind. So if we do kubectl create -f kind.yaml. Oh, sorry, wrong file. There we go. So that created a deployment for us in the default namespace. I've got kubectl alias to k. So we can see that we've got the simple server up and running. So we built the image locally, pushed it to the registry. Now we've deployed the YAML file, and we've got the application up and running. So one of the nice things I can do is I can go in, so I can run a kubectl port forward to this pod on 8080. And I can go over to my browser. And I can go to 8080. That's not quite what I wanted to do. There we go. And we've got the message, hello universe. So if we go back to our command line, and we do some development work, and we really need to have hello world, not universe, then we can just do, again, the Docker push. And again, that's rebuilding our image for us using Go. And then it's going to push it up to the local registry again. And when that's done in a couple seconds, we can do a kube control delete -F. So that deleted our app for us. And then we can do kube control create -F. And that created our application again. So, and again, it's running, it's 4 seconds old. So if we do, again, we go back to the port mapping, port forward rather, on this pod on 8080. We got hello world instead of hello universe. Really handy. Really, you can see how quickly I did that. I'm not worried about external registries. I'm not worried about being able to connect to different places. Just working off my development machine here. So as we noticed, if we go back to the kind.yaml that we set up, we did the extra port mappings. And the extra port mappings are for the node port that we're about to set up. So realistically, we should be running a service. We shouldn't be just port forwarding to our application. So if we go back in the make file, we've got a create service command down on line 30 here. That's going to create the node port for us. So what we ran, kube control service, node port, simple service, right? We're gonna bind 8080, which is the port that's running on the deployment, over the node port that we set up. So in essence, we created a node port on this single node of kind that's running. It's gonna communicate to the deployment for us. So if we go over to our browser, we can then do localhost 30,000. And we have our application now up and running on a node port. So let's recap. Kubernetes is a bit of a pain to do development with because it's such a big application. You know, we're bringing up a full cluster system that solves some very complex problems for us, such as scaling. So we're able to install a binary called kind, able to create a full Kubernetes cluster with it. We also are creating a local registry that we can push our images when we're developing to, or images for our custom applications, or say we need a database or whatever. You can do complex things like PVCs or create operators that create databases or whatever. It's a full installation of Kubernetes. You then can spin up, or we have a example application that we packaged up, push that into the local registry. We then we took a piece of a deployment or a YAML file that is our deployment. We use kube control to apply that to the cluster, and we've got an application up and running. We also configured kind to expose certain 30,000 as a port, and then we created a node port that communicated to our application that's bound on 30,000. Again, my project is over at GitHub. You can get there via bit.ly/kind-talk. Appreciate your time. Hope you can use kind to make your Kubernetes development more efficient.